Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Hi. My name is Cherysh La Touche. I will be your host for today's event, today's webinar, which is it just a gig? A little bit about myself. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, born and raised. I've been involved in performing arts since I was 5, but professionally since I was about 13 is when I started to do it professionally. So we're gonna go through a couple of the tidbits, the do's and don'ts of gigs and the behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people tend to forget. Right? If you see me with a little book in my hand, just have my notes, I'll keep on track, okay? So the intro of it, is it just a gig? The answer is no. No, it's not just a gig. It's never just a gig because you never know who's going to be in that room. You don't know what the gig might lead to. You don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's listening. You don't know if the opportunity will present itself at another time to represent your branding, right? So performance isn't just about the playing or the singing or the acting. So to just kind of bridge the gap of so that nobody will get confused, I kind of separated performance into 2 aspects, right? Aesthetic performance and social performance. The aesthetic performance is more or less what goes on stage. The social performance, what goes on behind the scenes, backstage, after the show, before the show, intermission, that sort of thing, right? So, first thing, finding gigs and promoting yourself. Hi, Martin. Finding gigs and promoting yourself. Nothing really, it just comes right back down to networking. And a lot of people really don't understand the value of going to other artists' performances. You need to do that, right? I know that sometimes, like in the performing arts world, a lot of us, we always have rehearsals going on at the same time. So normally we can't really afford, sometimes financially we can't afford, and just tangibly we can't afford to go to the show because we have rehearsals for our own shows. But you should always try to go to other artists' concerts, showcases, rub some elbows with some of the people in the industry. Again, you don't know who might be in that room. Yes. Next thing, join any websites, any mailing list that offers auditions. Like for instance, Trinidad and Tobago Performing Arts Network, they are a key element for a lot of people from Trinidad and Tobago getting jobs. So whatever entity you have within your country that offers a mailing list system where they send audition criteria for you, because they have everything more or less broken down, if you're going to get compensated, what the role is, all that sort of stuff, right? Using your social media properly. Now, when I say that, I don't necessarily mean posting videos. I mean making sure that it's your actual name on your social media handle. Make sure that the name that the client going to write the check for, yeah, is the same name that you're using on your social media handle. You can't be going as Cherysh on stage, but when people try to find you, they can't find you because your name is something completely contrary to what your name actually is. Now, I know that a lot of people have sobriquets for their stage. Put it in brackets or put it in between, like Cherysh the girl La Touche. I use myself as an example, right? But don't try to keep your name set as your formal government name, yeah? Keep your content clean. Unless your brand, part of your brand is, I would say, lewd, I don't want to say lewd, but lewd, explicit content. If that's part of your brand, cool, no problem. If it's not part of your brand, be very mindful of how you talk on your social media handles, right? Everything is a screenshot away. And we have seen from international artists, the Kevin Harts, and other people who make little comments on their social media handles, And then years down the line, they get an opportunity, a great opportunity, and then out of the blue pops up this thing that they said how much of a years ago. Be very mindful of how you talk on your social media handles, right? Management and agent services. Scope it out. I know for a fact that the Caribbean has a lot of small agencies where they offer management assistance, talent scouting, people like Artsy Bits, Jenny Carter for Gencar Management, like all these people, they help artists. Make sure and go online, check who's doing what. And there's a very big difference between scouts versus agents versus managers. You need to know the difference. Yes? Your videos, make sure that your videos are of top quality. If you're using your social media, make sure that the audio is clean. I really think that every recording artist, whether it be a small, if you're doing small scale, large scale, you should always invest in an audio interface. It helps with the cleaning up of your vocals. I know that I'm not that much of a song engineer, so I know that somebody like Martin will definitely be able to extend on that. But invest in an audio interface, it really helps. Photo shoots, make sure that your pictures are clean, make sure that the pixelation is great. Straight on photos are the best photos to start with as an artist. Don't do so much side profiles, because if it's a situation where people are not familiar with who you are yet, they need to see you, right? Investments, make sure that you invest in yourself. So make sure that your headshots, if you're part of a band, make sure that you have band shots, and you also have single shots of each band member. Let everybody get their moment. Yeah. Pop culture. There's a difference. Well, not there's a difference. We have a separated spectrum. We have the mainstream, we have underground, and we have the kind of indie rock, indie pop in between. If it is you so choose to follow the mainstream aspect of it, make sure that you're very much abreast with the pop culture, as in who's the new artist, who is doing what. Make sure that you're very familiar with who's on the radio now, so that you will know who you're more or less up against in the industry. Yes? Second thing, so that whole thing there was finding gigs and promoting yourself, right? If there's anybody who has any more tidbits, like what they use for themselves, feel free to put it in the chat as well. Second thing, pricing. Now I'm going to take some time and go through this one, because this one causes a really big hiccup in a lot of people's financial balance when it comes to being an artist. So a lot of things that you need to remember: know your client. There's a difference between an NGO and a corporate entity. The figure is going to be much different. As far as profit for the artist, it's going to be a lot different from an NGO as opposed to a corporate entity, right? Know your worth. Even though you might not be 100% sure what the person can pay, have a figure, have a low figure. Set the lowest figure that you are willing to go down to. If for whatever reason the client can't afford to pay that, and you are not willing to agree to doing it lower than the figure that you asked for, by all means pass it on to another artist. Yeah? Pass it on to another artist. Like, don't leave them hanging, in good faith, right? Next thing, cover expenses. Make sure, and this right here is a mistake that some people have made. I have made this mistake in the past, right? Make sure that the first hour of the performance covers at least expenses and 1 hour of your performance. Whatever your 1 hour performance figure is, that plus expenses. Always remember that the expenses is a flat rate, a flat figure. The expenses figure has nothing to do with the performance figure. Always remember that, right? Expenses that would come along to if you have to put gas in the car to get to the venue, if you have to hire a taxi to pick you up and drop you back home after, if you have to hire a truck, a tail truck, to get all the instruments on the truck to get to the venue, and then that truck has to come back and drop it back to your studio. All those things are expenses. It's really good to know that figure, have that calculated, and make sure that that you make clear to the client who's hiring you that this is the expenses, this is the performance rate. Have it written down, like set it in an invoice. Because always remember, no matter how long the duration of the performance is, whether it be a half an hour or 3 hours, that isn't going to change how much money is spent on expenses. If let me say it's $300 to get to the venue, just ballpark figure, if it's $300 to get to the venue and it's only for 15 minutes and you don't tell them anything about your performance fee, then you only make $300 from that gig, right? Always remember that the performance rate has nothing to do with the expense rate, okay? Consult other professionals in the industry. There are a lot of people that will be more than willing to help you, especially the up-and-comers in the industry, like all the students that now graduating out of UTT and UE and COSTAT and USC. All of these people, I urge you to pick the brains of the veterans, right? Veterans, please be open to give them the knowledge. Also, make sure that whoever you ask is at the same performance level that you are at. If this is that you're gonna seek out information or seek out assistance to set a figure, and you're now starting, don't ask somebody like Marshall Montano Management. You understand what I mean? Like, if you are now starting, you've never done a gig before, nobody knows who you are, go to somebody that is along the same level as that, because I don't want you all to end up asking somebody who charges, let me say, $2,000 an hour, and then you get the opportunity to do a gig, and when the person asks you, well, how much was the figure going to be, and you tell them, well, $2,000 an hour, and they watch you like, what? Yeah, we don't want anything like that happening. So please be mindful of who you ask. Always make sure that that person is at the same level that you are at, right? Possible long-standing gigs. If you ever get into a situation where you have a possible gig at a resort or a hotel chain, and you're seeing that there's a slight possibility that it could turn into a long-standing gig, like every Christmas, every New Year's Eve, try to deduct your figure by about 10%. Of course, that percentage deduction will vary with different people, but be mindful that this could possibly be an extended business partner for the future, right? So if you try to keep a 10% deduction, it is going to more or less like help them in figuring out if they want you to keep coming back to perform for them, right? In good faith, like doing things like that would help you maintain a good camaraderie with the client. Is a good business partnership, otherwise, is what I'm trying to say. So hotels, resorts, make sure and have a deduction figure so that coming down the line, you're going to be called constantly for that one gig, because it's a lot easier to say that you're going to do this gig and have a figure of $4,000 a month coming in every month from this one gig that you do every month, as opposed to you just saying, okay, well, I could only do it this one time and it's 5,000, and you just pay 5,000 for that 1 month, as opposed to setting a deduction and you encourage them to keep you on monthly, right? So the last part, and this is the part that it may sound a little bit harsh, but that's just the reality of it. Charity work. You should always do charity work. You should always do charity work. It helps, again, it helps with networking, and in good faith, it's always good to give back, right? But always remember that the charity is your time and your performance, not your money. Okay? If you're coming out of pocket to do a charity event, something is very wrong. Try to see if you, basically what I'm trying to say is there's a difference between charity and actual performance as opposed to doing the charity and still getting paid. Right? Try to negotiate with the client and see if you can just sit down with them and say, here, I know that it's for charity, but the event is in Tobago or the event is 2 states away. It's gonna take a good bit of gas for me to drive from here to here. Is it possible that you could at least pay for the expenses for me for gas so that I could get to the venue? Some may say yes, some may say no, some may be willing to pay half, some may say, oh, well, we could get somebody to come and pick you up, even better. But always remember that you really should not be coming out of pocket significantly for a charity event. Any form of debt, put in a charity. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing a question here, but guys, I'm gonna answer all the questions at the end. Okay, just put them in the chat, and I'll address them after. Initiating collaborations. Initiating collaborations more or less comes again right back to the networking part. Shows, live shows, doing duets for concerts or full productions counts as a collaboration. When I say collab, I don't necessarily mean you going in studio with an artist and it being featured. Yes, that is part of it too, but I also mean people who do shows and ask people to be part of the show, those who do duets and want other people to be part of their duets. It's good to have that networking background, and most times that those kind of collaborations happen when you come out of universities that have music programs. You end up keeping tabs with all these people, and during semester you end up having little jam sessions. Like, don't take for granted the jam sessions either. Go to these jam sessions too. Jam sessions, walk with your instrument, go on stage and perform. Again, you don't know who's going to be in the audience watching you or listening to you. Right? Do your covers on social media. I know that there are some artists that would prefer to do their own original work, and there are some people that start with covers and then do their original work after. But it's always good to do covers, especially on social media. When you tag that artist after you do the cover, whoever follows that artist on Instagram, on Facebook, will most likely see that notification pop up too. So when they see you doing a cover, they're going to share it with their friends, and so on and so on and so on. So make sure if you do covers that they're done well. Be sure to set the copyright infringement on it so you don't end up in trouble, and make sure and tag the artist. Right? The fraternity of the performing arts scene in the Caribbean, as much as they're large in each island, they're still pretty small. Like, each person knows everybody knows each other or heard about each other. So each person knows they've seen somebody perform on stage already, or they see this person in someone else's video. Like, the fraternity is small, so make use of all of these moments. When you see other people doing covers, make sure and share it back, repost it, help each other. Don't underestimate the value of music ministry. Music ministry in churches, in parishes, in open Bible Christian groups, they are good. Again, networking, they're really good, because I don't know if you realize the musicians, the instrumentalists that come out of some of those gospel groups are absolutely amazing. And you will realize that when you follow them, when you single them out and you follow their journey, they've performed with a bunch of history, has a really, really, really wide span of networking as well. Another thing that a lot of people need to remember, don't just look for ability when you're initiating your collaborations. Feel energies, feel vibes. Like don't just take for granted. Emotionally and mentally draining for that person to finish the project. And now it got to a point where now the project is done, and every time they hear the song, it's just bad memories. Be sure that when you do collaborate with people, that is people that you want to work with, don't take for granted that the person is really good, and you just put yourself in a situation where you don't really have much of a artistic say or artistic energy that makes you want to do your best. Just feel for energies. Don't just take for granted that the person is just a good artist. Make sure that this is the artist that you're supposed to be working with, right? So initiating collabs would only work if everybody, all artists, do this very simple, but sometimes it's forgotten. Be nice and be professional. I don't understand why it's so hard for people to just be warm, be welcoming, let people want to be around you. And I know it might sound like shade. It might sound like shade, but it's really not. Have you ever been in a situation where you go to a performance and it's amazing, it's absolutely amazing, and you're so enamored by this person? I say, oh my god, I want to talk to this person, I want to let this person know how well they perform. And you wait, and you're waiting for them to come out from backstage, and when you go to them, it's like a total like your whole energy just deflate, because the person, like, you just couldn't talk to them, like the energy was just bad. Be nice. Be nice. Again, you don't know who's in the room, you don't know who you're talking to. You wouldn't want to be in a situation where because I know sometimes shows don't go as planned, and you might be a little bit ticked off if something goes wrong. If a stranger comes up to you after the show, pull it back, breathe, address them, talk to them, smile, whatever. Do what you need to do to get through that conversation, because you never know, somewhere down the line, that person that you may have been a little bit nasty to might be the manager of some corporation that might ask you to perform somewhere on the road, coming down the road, further down in your performance life. So be nice, be professional. When I say be professional, that not only means just be on time, be aware of what your call time is, that sort of thing. I also mean just backstage, just be cool. If I don't know what the criteria is these days, but I know that some people usually don't partake in like food and alcohol while they're on the gig. But just be mindful again of the alcohol intake when you are at a gig. I know it might sound very simple, and people should know this, but be aware of your surroundings after the gig. Be careful how you're speaking. Be careful about who you're speaking to. Be mindful of who you're around. Just be nice and be professional. Okay, I'm seeing a question coming in here, but I'd recommend a 10% deduction if it's once per month commitment instead of for every Christmas. Okay, yes, that could work as well. That could work as well. Okay, so that's the social part of performance. So I'm going to say the 4 points again. Finding gigs and promoting yourself. Make sure that your networking is good. Make sure that your social media is clean. Make sure that you have your actual name on your social media. Make sure that your photo shoots, headshots, band shots are perfect. Pricing, make sure that you know your clients. Make sure that you have a figure to work with. Make sure that your expense figure is separate from your performance fee, right? And always, if you are doing charity, always remember that it is your time and your performance you're giving to charity, not finances, not your money. You should not go out of pocket for a charity event, okay? Please. So the next thing, and this is the easier part, the aesthetics. The aesthetics is basically attire, performance prep, repertoire, right? Always make sure that you know where the venue is. Know where the venue is. If it's somewhere that you don't necessarily know, like if it's somewhere, if you're from town and the event is deep south, if it is that you don't get a proper directions, I would say go to the venue beforehand. See how long it takes you, because you don't want to end up in a situation where you're on the road and you didn't estimate traffic, so you're sticking a bottleneck on the highway and you can't get to the event. You're trying to get onto the person to let them know you're going to be late. Just try and set a roadmap in your head to how long it's going to take you to get there if the venue is out of bounds, right? Be mindful of the type of event that it is. If it's a funeral, if it's a wedding, if it's a corporate event, if it's a wine and cheese, anything to that nature, be mindful of what kind of event it is, because that will also have a lot of highlights for how your repertoire is going to flow, right? You can't you can't do something like His Eye is on the Sparrow at a wedding reception unless the person asks for it. You never know. If it's a wedding, always try to see if you can get a conversation with the bridal party or the bride or the groom, whoever hires you. What kind of music they like? What kind of music do they like? Do they want more R&B? Do they want more hip hop? Do they want more soca? Do they want dancehall? Do they want jazz? Have these conversations beforehand. Make sure that you don't just set the repertoire just because you're accustomed to doing weddings and none of the songs that you have on your repertoire is what the bride and groom want to hear. Okay? Attire. Attire. I'll start with the men. Guys, you cannot go wrong with a blazer, a simple black blazer. Okay? Make sure that you, and I would advise go to a tailor. Like, don't just go, you might be able to go to one of those stores that have like the generic suits and you might be able to get a good fit. But guys, you can't go wrong with a black blazer, a black jacket. You could, as time goes along, you could always splurge around and get a brown one or a gray one or a slate gray, something that's very cool colors. Nothing too bright unless the client asks you to set a color theme to what you're going to wear. But yes, you can't go wrong with a black blazer. Pocket squares, for the people that are not really familiar with a pocket square is, that's that little short triangle handkerchief that you see sticking out at the top of the pocket right here. But make sure that you have a black blazer. You can't go wrong with a black blazer. Make sure that shoes match socks, match belt. Please do not wear a black shoe with a white socks and a brown belt. Please. I know that some people it may not seem like a big thing because nobody not seeing your socks, but when you sit, people see your socks, and it might sound weird, but people look at all of those things. They look at all those things. So make sure that socks match, shoes match socks, match belt. If you are going to wear denim jeans, dark denim. Acid wash jeans don't really fly all the time, right? So dark denim. If you're wearing a dress shirt, make sure that your undershirt is the same color as your overshirt. So if you're wearing a black dress shirt, don't wear a white t-shirt underneath it where you can see the little scoop peeking out at the top, right? Ladies, I love concert gowns. Me personally, I love concert gowns to perform for anything. But obviously it wouldn't really you wouldn't really allow to have wear a concert dress all the time, right? So if it's a wedding, if you were invited to the wedding and you had to wear a particular color, by all means, but just make sure that if you are singing at the wedding ceremony, wear a shawl. I know that some people don't really care to wear shawls, but if you're going to be in the church parish and you're going to be around the ministers, the pastor, wear a shawl. If the dress that you're wearing is a strapless or spaghetti strap or a princess cut, just on the cap of the sleeve, on your shoulders right there, wear a shawl. It modesty, yeah. I know that, and I know that again. It might seem simple, but people forget these little things, right? If it's for a regular jazz showcase, you could wear the little bodycon dresses, heels. Make sure I've only just understood the value of having your nails done at all times. I was never a big nails person. So, oh yes, pantsuits, Seychelles. Pantsuits are really good too. Pants, you can never go wrong with a good pantsuit, guys. And a really nice pointed heel. If you're doing open toes, polish your toes, make sure that everything looks head to toe glistening. Again, I know it sounds like these are little things that you shouldn't really be worrying about, but people look at everything. Remember that you are representing yourself and your brand, right? Practice dressing for the job. Like, practice how long it's going to take you to get ready when you're home. Not on the day of, but like a couple of days before. If it's a situation where you are going to get hair done, nails done, the whole shebang, make sure and practice how long it's going to be. Sit down and say, okay, it's going to take me at least an hour and I have to get my hair done, then another hour to do my nails. So I have to go to the nail technician at 8 to be done by 9, then I'll probably go to the hairdresser at 10:30, be done by 12, and I'll be able to get home, get ready, and go. Time it out, time out everything. You see the reminders on your phone? That works wonders. Do that little reminder option on your phone, it really, really helps. Trust me. Performance prep. Take care of your body and your voice. Always remember to take care of your body and your voice. Dancers, actors who have a lot of people who do a lot of stage combat, please be mindful to do your stretches earlier than the actual day. Like, start prepping yourself physically for it. Vocalists, well, all of my students know I swear by ginger tea and watered down apple juice. Watered down apple juice cleans your throat. Ginger tea, as much as ginger tea is really good to clear your throat, be mindful of how much you take, because that burning could actually aggravate your vocal cords a little bit. Neaten your instruments. When I say neaten your instrument, polish your pan, make sure it's shiny, make sure it's sleek. Polish your guitar, polish your voice, do your warm-ups. Yeah, get your outfit ready at least 3 days in advance. You don't want to be scrambling for earrings, or scrambling for a wristwatch, or scrambling for a handkerchief the morning of the event. Okay, try to have a checklist and make sure that everything is checked off. Have what you need for the gig pre-packed. So if you're somebody that needs little things, like everybody has their little things that makes them comfortable, candles, a mini diffuser, your hair products, your makeup, your earrings, your jewelry, your face products. If it's not something that you use on a daily and it's something that you just use for your performance, have it pre-packed. Have a carry-on or a dance bag, a gym bag that is specifically for you, for your performance stuff, and have certain things in there at all times. That way, you're not going to be trying to figure out where you put this down. It's already packed, it's already there. Have a bottle of water with you, room temperature water. It doesn't matter if you're a vocalist or if you're an instrumentalist, if you're an actor, if you're a dancer, a bottle of water, always have a bottle of water with you. Your repertoire. Again, what I said before, make sure that your repertoire is not only reflects you, but it also reflects the client. Make sure that you have all of your words down, your lyrics down. If you're somebody like me that sometimes forget some lyrics, and you feel like you need to have, I've seen this before. If you do it, set it up in a very professional way, it's gonna look really good. You have your music stand, you have your iPad attached to the music stand, and you have all the words right there, but you're not literally looking at it, you're just glancing ever so often. Nothing's wrong with doing that. I'm telling you, nothing is wrong with doing that. Just make sure that it's not in a situation where it's taking up space to the point where it's a distraction for the audience, right? Know your music. Know your music. That's self-explanatory. Know your music. Time duration. Make sure that you have the time duration for each song set well. If you're performing for like a half an hour, that's probably about 3 to 4 songs, if so much, depending on the genre. Choose the selections based on the event. As I said before, you can't sing unless it's requested. You can't sing "Eye of the Sparrow" in the wedding, right? You can't sing You can't sing. I'm trying to find a silly example. Make sure that your repertoire suits the event, right? Give yourself a break, as in the intermissions. It's really good to have guest performances as well, but this only applies to if it is your show. If you are hosting your own show, it's really good to have special guest performers, because you could do duets with them, but they could also get a spot to perform a solo piece for themselves. That will in turn give you, as the artist, the host of the show, a break to come off stage, sit for a little bit, sip some water, but don't get too distracted. Still be mindful that there's your show going on and there is a show going on. Be very aware of when you have to go back on stage, but it's always good when you're doing your own show. It's always good to have guest artists so that you can get a little break. Think about the difficulty of the selections. I know that this could also apply to instrumentalists, but mainly vocalists. Let's say you have a full set list, an hour and a half, and 5 of those songs are extremely difficult songs. Don't sing 5 of them back to back. That makes no sense. If it is that you want to separate it, end your first half with one, start your second half with another one, put the other 2 somewhere in between first half and second half, and then end with the last one, right? Don't put all of them back to back. You will die. Like, your voice will not last the entire show, okay? And I think that that's it. So that is basically it. So guys, please remember that it is never just a gig. It's never just a gig. I'll just repeat what I said when I first started. You never know who's in the audience. You never know who's watching you. You don't know if that person in the audience is going to have a significant impression on somebody else for another gig that you might end up getting. So be mindful, be very aware of what you have to do, and just do your best at all times. Do your best. Thank you so much. I'm going to address the questions now, if there are any. Time and place for attire is so important. You won't wear the same thing you wear for a fight. Oh yeah, don't wear the sexy romper for the all-inclusive, to the wedding, to sing. Please don't do it, right? Let me see, for weddings, if they book me long enough in advance, I have to ask the bride if there's a special song. Yes, always, when it's a wedding, guys, always pay attention to what the bride and groom wants. Ask them, do they have a special song? If it is you, if they ask you to sing their special song, make sure that you know all those words perfectly. If it's 3 songs you can't mess up in somebody's wedding, is their first dance song, the father-daughter dance, or the mother-son dance. You really shouldn't be messing up at all, but just be mindful that those songs are very important to the clients. Make sure that you have their best interest at heart, right? Figure out a signature look. Yes, like how Arturo Tappen has that mustache and the hat. Yeah. Also remember that how important is a performance contract? Performance contract, Martin, do you mean like just for that performance alone, or just generally a performance contract on hand for somebody? What do you mean by that exactly? Just so that I'll be able to answer better for you. Or do you mean that if they a contract so that no matter what, like even if you don't need certain songs, if I show up, you still have to pay a significant figure? Like, that's what you mean? Or one-off performance? If it's a one-off, no. I don't think so. I think depending on the client. If it's a NGO, I would just make sure and solidify it by a verbal agreement, but that's just me. If it's a corporate, hi guys, sorry about that. Sorry about that. It just cut off for some very strange reason. Okay. Um, I was answering Martine. Yes, Martine. I personally would not do a performance contract if it's a one-off. I wouldn't. Um, are there any other questions? Does anybody have any more questions for me? I have like 20 more minutes. Just waiting. What's the proper protocols for doing covers in the main sense, with the important thing being giving credit to the original artist? Always give credit to the original artist. Always give credit to the original artist. Even if it's an artist that's deceased, still give credit to the artist. I think that some people, I think it's according to the regions. You could easily put this is not my original work. I don't own the rights to this music. I think that if you have that tagline on the cover, on the video itself, it should work. It doesn't always work because I think that there are different rules where the audio is concerned for specific regions around the world. So I'm not 100% sure. But from my experience, if I'm doing a cover, I would credit the artist, and I would also put that I don't own the rights to this music. As far as doing covers and putting it up on YouTube, you'll have to go through YouTube's rules and regulations and how they go about people doing covers and posting it on YouTube. I hope that answers your question. How do you go about making sure you receive a down payment, or is that important? To make sure that if it is that you're doing something where a contract is concerned, set it in the contract that you would like to receive a down payment. Your down payment could probably be treated the way I just said. Make sure that the first hour covers your expenses and 1 hour of your performance fee. That you could let that be a down payment. So let's say your expenses come up to $700, right? And then you have your performance fee for 1 hour is $1,000. That means $1,700. So $1,700 is your down payment, right? Or you could just let your down payment be the expenses. It really depends on the person, and always remember, if you are asking for a down payment, make sure that it's a figure that matches the client. If it's an NGO, it can't be that big of a figure. If it's a corporate entity, you might be able to get away with giving a large sum as your request for down payment. Okay? Anybody else have any questions from what I said? I have 10 more minutes. Anybody? Okay. Well, if everybody doesn't have any more questions, I am going to say thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of my webinar today. Is it just a gig? Always remember, it's never just a gig. It's never just a gig. What's the best protocol for giving out call cards or something after a gig? Giving out call cards. Don't be too abrasive with the call card giving. I would say if someone asks for one is the only time you should give one, but you also have to be mindful that you're trying to make you represent yourself. So be a little cognizant with how you go about doing it. If you are performing, you could take the opportunity while you're on stage, acknowledge your social media handles, let people come to you, like let people ask you for the call card. I think that's the best way to do it. Like, instead of just like bum rushing at somebody and here, I think that's a little bit abrasive. So always wait for them to ask for it. I think that's the best protocol, but always have it on hand. Have call cards on hand. Any other questions? Any other questions? I have a couple more minutes again before I have to say bye. For the third time, I think this will be the third time that I'm saying bye. Anybody have any more questions? No? Okay. Well, once again, I'm going to say thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for being willing to be a part of my webinar today. I hope that I answered, all of your questions. Feel free to contact me or any of the other webinar hosts on our handles if you have any questions. I'm sure that Martin and Marcus will be more than willing to assist. So the next, after me, we're going to hand it over to Martin, and he's going to be doing the recording process. So please, everybody, try to register as soon as you can. If you haven't registered for his own, you can register at, let me just get the proper website, www.musictt.co.tt. Look for Martin's webinar, register. It's going to happen a little while after mine, so look out for it. Thank you so much. Remember to love yourselves and each other. Bye.